Okay. Dirty visor down. Welcome back to another episode of Alex Rides. We had like a week hiatus because I was in New York for a bachelorette party, and that was quite a fun thing. Yesterday was my first day back from work, and my camera batteries were not ready to go, so I didn't film yesterday, which was probably a good thing because a bee went right down my jacket and stung me in my stomach, and it was not fun. It was not the way I wanted to spend my first ride back. So, those things happen. The joys of motorcycling. Doing an early morning ride today, going to work a little early, which means I might be able to film my ride home with relative ease, because it'll still be daylight out. So we'll get 2 rides in today. We had to downgrade to 1080p in hopes that the battery will last the whole trip. I think the 4K just eats too much battery, and that's half the reason we can't make it the whole trip. But we're getting where we're getting. It's nice out this morning. I did the first maintenance on the bike this morning. So oil change, check tire pressure, clean the chain up, and I also took the snorkel off the airbox, so it's a little louder. They say that adds power. I don't know, it doesn't feel any different to me. Of course, it's just a little piece of rubber, but how much power is that really robbing from the bike? It can't possibly be that much, so... I did it anyway just because, it's a fun experiment. It's not hurting anything to take it off. You would think that, kind of protects the airbox a little bit, the air filter. Nah, not really. It's still a big hole. Just a bigger hole now. As long as you're cleaning your air filter and keeping up on the maintenance, you're fine. But yeah, so my trip to New York, bachelorette party. Boy, what a week that was. So my last day at work was a Tuesday, and I know that because I took the car to work. And I had to leave early. My fiance called me and told me that the water for the house had just turned off. And I was like, well, we don't have city water, so it's not like I didn't pay the bill. So that just means the well's broken, which is worse. So I got in the car and drove home. And the last time this happened to us, basically the well had tripped the breaker, and that had caused the well pump to stop pumping, and then we have a 5,000 gallon reserve tank, so we drained that, and then that was that. So that's what I figured it was. But, an opportunity to get off work a little early to go reset a breaker, hey, that's pretty nice. So I go home and I flip the breaker and my pump still doesn't come on, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad. So I flip the main breakers on and off. So that the breaker I'm talking about is just for the underground pump. I flipped the main breakers on and off, and I heard the booster pump try to come on, but it just wasn't spinning. I was like, easy problem. So I took the booster pump apart, cleaned the contact points, lubed the rotating parts, and just freed a little bit of rust and debris from the impeller, and I got it to start spinning, and I was like, oh, cool, that took a couple hours, but, I got it to where it's working. This should work. And I primed it up as best as I could and tried to run it, and it still wasn't working, and I was like, crap. At this point I really didn't know that much about wells. I still don't, but I didn't realize the booster pump just pumps from the tank. If the tank's empty, then, which it was, then that doesn't that's not going to solve your problem. It just overheated because it didn't have any water to pump. So I had to call the well people. Now mind you, the next day so the next morning I call the well people. The following day I have to be on a plane to New York early in the morning. So I tell them this, they managed to get to my house as early as they could work it out to be, which was nice of them. And they discovered that the box with the little breaker for the underground pump seemed to not be working anymore. It was going to require a new box. So I think to myself, okay, well, how much is that going to cost me? And it's going to cost like $750 after the service fees, the service call fees, and they needed to redo some wiring because I guess this box was just ever so slightly different. And whatever. So yeah, okay, $750, whatever. I gotta have water. I'm leaving tomorrow, and I'm having my future in-laws stay at the house to take care of all of our farm animals. So it's gotta happen. So he replaces the box and gets the underground pump to start pumping into our reserve tank. I'm like, all right, cool, we're in business. And he informs me that not to turn on the booster pump until we get the water levels to about a third or so, which is, it's 5,000 gallons. It's gonna take a while. So a couple hours go by, it gets to the level where it's safe. I run the booster pump and I still don't have water pressure, and I can't get the pump to prime. So I'm like, man, there's a seal in the pump that I didn't replace because I didn't have one, and maybe I didn't do a good enough job trying to preserve it. I don't know. Either way, I don't really have the time to fix this problem. I got to be on a plane. So I called them back and told them, and they quoted me for a new booster pump. That was like $2,000. And I was like, well, I mean, what am I gonna do? And they're just further away from buying a Ninja 400 now. Okay, so next morning I get on my plane and I head to New York. After a couple of layovers, I'm having lunch in LaGuardia Airport, and I get a phone call, and apparently they were able to prime my current booster pump and get it to work. They said it had a stubborn air bubble in it, and I was so pleased. I was so happy. That saved me $2,000. So I was another service call fee, $150, whatever. It's cheaper than $2,000. So I was very happy with that. So Heritage Well Company, dude, you guys are awesome. You've saved my bacon. Was it 3 times at this point? So yeah, they are the bee's knees. So now I'm in New York. We're going there for a bachelorette party for a friend of ours, and we're staying at her little apartment and stuff like that, and we're gonna go up to Fishkill, New York, to stay in like a double A-frame cabin and go horseback riding and all this other kind of stuff. So we made our way up there and everything like that, and I met all of her New York family and friends, which they were cool people. They were nice. But yeah, the whole thing was an interesting experience. It's been a while since I've been back out east. I lived out there for 5 years, but now, like, going back to it, it's like, wow, what a world of difference it is from California. And I'm quickly reminded why I could never live there. And it's, I'm not talking trash. It's just there's certain things that I didn't like when I lived there, and I don't wish to live there anymore because of them. And honestly, as vain and stupid as it sounds, it's rust. I hate rust. I hate the idea of it. I hate the fact that I would spend, tens of thousands of dollars on something like an automobile, and the fact that the air around it is trying to kill it. I don't like that. So, I mean, that was like a big reason I moved out here. And so, wow, that fire truck, dude, just like, whew. We got a whole line here, bud. You were trying to take us all out. Anyway, and a couple other things. I mean, like the fact that the architecture in general is just older, it makes it hard to find a decent place to live for a decent price. And again, the air, there's the moisture, so much moisture in the air, it just degrades the siding of the houses and stuff. It's crazy. So there's just like stupid stuff like that. That's really why I wouldn't want to live there. I don't really do well in cold either, so that's, another reason. And I don't really like that the streets aren't laid out in a grid. I grew up in Arizona. Streets are on a grid. It's easy. Now, unless you live in New York City, where it is a grid, everything else is not. And it makes, like, driving around really silly to me. It's like something that is, like, as the crow flies, maybe, 3 or 4 miles. It takes you, like, 7 or 8 to get there because it's looping around a bunch of stuff. And it's just older architecture and older city planning because those cities have been around for a really, really long time. But yeah, so New York's just not really the place for me. However, the house we stayed at, the Airbnb, double A-frame in Fishkill, super awesome. The guys who decorated it did a really great job. Really neat. Had a really cool little basement. We stayed in the pool house, me and my fiance. And man, I'm having like a really irritating face itch. Hold on. I was trying to ignore it. I was giving it all I had to ignore that, but I just couldn't do it anymore. Okay. Well, we stayed in the pool house, like a little casita style. Had its own kitchenette, its own shower. And that was nice because, I mean, these people that we were at the bachelorette with, they're nice people, but they're just not really my speed. I was definitely the oddball out at that party. So when I had my little casita, I could, put on my music and kind of enjoy my time and drink copious amounts of liquor in private. So it was fun. We went horseback riding. Now, I've never ridden a horse. Horses scare me. They're large. They have a mind of their own, literally, and they kick and bite. And I'm just not. I'm not cool with them. I'm not really cool with any animal that's bigger than me. I don't really like being around them. And so we get there, and I'm nervous. I'm really nervous about this whole horse thing. And then they have this other horse named Woodbury. He's a monster horse. He's like a moose, big brown dude, and he wants out of his stable really bad. He's kicking it, trying to break the door down and stuff. Just a crazy horse, and he was scaring me because he was being loud and trying to get out and stuff. I didn't like him. But I wasn't the first group to go, thank goodness. The first group got on the horses and they went, and I was part of the second group. And they had already paired me up with a horse because they found out that I'd never ridden before, and so they gave me the nicest horse or whatever. And that horse's name was Sundance. Now I have a goat named Sundance, and that's my best goat. And they were the same color patterns, white and brown swatches. I'm like, oh, this Sundance horse is a lot like my Sundance goat. Maybe this is the best horse. But after I got to riding that horse, I think riding is a polite term for what that was. I was a backpack to that horse. That horse did whatever it wanted to do. I had no control over that animal at all. I think I got it to stop twice. It would kind of listen if you wanted it to stop, but eventually it would just throw its head forward, pull the reins out of your hand. But for the most part, it didn't do anything scary. It was doing, luckily, its own thing, but its own thing was what it was supposed to be doing. So that was okay. But I wasn't telling that horse nothing. I wasn't telling it to go. I wasn't telling it to go, steer. It was just following the other horses. And I had no control over that animal, so I still am convinced that horse riding is just not for me. Motorcycles are much better because I can actually, control this thing. It doesn't bite or kick or do any silly, funny business to me, so, I'm totally cool with the motorcycle action. Not so cool with the horse action. Think about maybe trying to make a pass on that guy, but no. So that was pretty much the highlights of my trip to New York. And, well, that was the highlights of the good parts. We did, as soon as we got to New York, we were on Facebook a little bit, and we saw that there was a wildfire that had broken out in our neighborhood, 7 miles from the house. We're like, oh no, this isn't good. So, and that thing took off too. So we were constantly watching this fire as it was growing. Luckily, it kept growing away from the house and more towards the wilderness. And we weren't in any real danger at any point, thank goodness. But yeah, that wildfire grew up to over 2,000 acres, pretty much immediately. So that was scary, being thousands of miles away and basically 12 hours worth of planes to get home if I had to. So, for those reasons, that was not that enjoyable, as you might imagine. So, that was New York. And now we're back, California, where I belong, back on my bike, doing my YouTube thing, and going to work. Everything's just cool. So that's the long and short of that. Bike seems to be running decently. You know, you always get a little worried when you start playing with a lot of parts, especially all at one time. Make sure everything's good, but bike seems to be happy. We're just cruising. The Suburban's in no hurry. Neither am I. I left for work extra early today. Cool thing about my work, especially currently, because I'm kind of on like a temporary schedule to make up for someone who's not here this week. It's kind of like as early as I get there, you work your 8 hours and you leave. So the earlier you get there, the earlier you leave. So, you know, that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool thing. So if I leave at, 9 o'clock, which it's about the time I left today, I should get there about 10:30. So I'll be out at 6:30. Not too bad. I'm hoping that the popping is not too bad. I've been trying to come up with some interesting ways to deal with that problem, but I just don't really have any ideas. I kind of positioned the mic a little bit differently. I closed all the vents on the helmet, and just kind of hoping for the best. But for all I know, it's been popping for the last however long we've been on this ride. But we should not have any heat problems today, because it is beautiful out this morning. I have no idea what temperature it is, but if I had to guess, maybe 80, 85 at the most. It's absolutely nice outside. I like this little corner, but the Suburban's going to take all my fun out of it. There's definitely more tony with that snorkel off the intake, this bike. Just a little more deeper. And I, for one, love the sound of intakes. Some people like exhaust. I like intake. I like intake sounds. To me, my favorite sounding engine is the Toyota 4A GE with some trumpets on it. That thing just sounds awesome. It's such a cool sound. Like I've always scheming ways to build a car just to use that engine. Like I just like that engine so much. I'm not like super into the cars that engine came in. The 86 is cool. That's a great car. I'd love to own one, but I ain't paying 40 grand for one either, you know? They've just skyrocketed to an unreasonable thing, you know? Like I get that they're like pretty rare now, and tofu tax and Toyota tax and all these other things, but at the end of the day, it's 40 grand for an 80s Corolla. You got to realize what the car still is at the end of the day. So, yeah, I wouldn't spend 40 grand on a 86. Just not interested in that. Especially when, like, not that long ago, you could get a Supra for 40 grand. Like, you could get a high mileage turbo for 40 grand. Or you could get a pretty sweet non-A, or NA. You could get a nice low mileage stick NA one for 40. Not that long ago, like 5 or 6 years ago. Those days are long gone now, but yeah. So, I'm just not into paying that. So, but the motor itself, right? So you have the original one, which is like the tofu car one, right? It's the 16 valve. That motor's pretty cool. That's a great motor. I've had that motor before. I had a GTS Corolla, but it was a front-wheel drive one. It's a great motor. There's nothing wrong with that one. But really, you want... Ooh, a little stick in the road. But really what you want is the black top 20 valve. That thing is sweet. That's a great motor. And they make pretty good horsepower. It's like 180 something if I remember right. But you put some... They already have trumpets. That's the best part, right? So, you gotta do stuff to the intake on the 16 valve motors. You gotta put trumpets on it. Independent throttle bodies. The black top and the silver top too, I think, both have independent throttle bodies factory. So you get the cool 4A GE sounds out of the box. And that's just neat. So I want to build a car just to use that motor. But I live in California. So what that means is that car would have to be older than 1975 in order for me to legally do it. Because there's just no way you're going to get that car through a referee with that motor, because it's a Japanese motor. There's ways to like put a modern motor in a a car that's like from the 80s and get it through a ref station and all that, but it's got to have like all its original equipment and all that. So there's a way to do it, okay? But if it's a Japanese motor, I just don't think that's possible. I just think you'd be climbing an impossible hill. So, pre-1975. Obviously, you want it to be Japanese, but the problem with cars from Japan at that time frame is they're really small, which means they have really small engine bays. And the 4A is not a big motor, but it's bigger than what they had in those cars back then. So it's kind of hard to like make it work. So you have to go with like what was considered a big Japanese car at the time, like the Celica or something like that. Well, those classic Japanese cars are getting pretty hard to find. You know what I mean? So it's a difficult thing to deal with. The secondary idea to that would be doing a British car and then just running Japanese engine and drivetrain in it. So because I mean, there's no shortage of freaking Austin Healey's and MG midgets and whatever, all those other crappy British cars for sale here in California. I mean, there's just tons and tons and tons of them. Like, you want one that runs, you want one that doesn't, you want one that has a motor in it, you want one that doesn't. Like, the nice to the nice, the crappiest to the crappy, everything in between. Like, all kinds of prices. Like, you could get one today for $1,200, so you could get a really nice one for like 10. What do you want? So there's that option, but really, it's like I put myself in all these little barriers, all these little walls, because I'm just weird. But like, really, the only British sports cars that I like is the MG GT, which is the coupe. It's not even the convertible. That car's pretty cool, hard to find, kind of expensive. Or the Triumph TR6. But if I had a Triumph TR6, I wouldn't want to put a 4-cylinder engine in it, because it's a TR6. That's like the whole point. I decided it has a 6-cylinder engine. But the Triumph TR6 is the only one that like I like its body lines enough to like actually buy one. So yeah, the reality is I'll probably never get around to building this thing. The only time I came really close, and I like kick myself every time that I think about this, because like, oh man, I really, really, really should have done it, is a Isuzu diesel pickup truck came up for sale not that long ago. Well, it's about a year and a half ago now, maybe 2. But at the time, it was like $3,500. It was like the cleanest 80s Isuzu pickup truck I've ever seen. And because it's the turbo diesel, it has a little hood scoop on it, has really cool little graphics. It was a jumper cab. It was just a cool truck in great shape. You know, it had like 80,000 original miles on it. Super nice truck. I wanted it so bad. And the cool thing about a truck like that is because it's diesel, here in California, you don't have to smog it. And it has enough engine bay for a 4A. And I got to thinking, like, realistically, I think that's like the perfect build for me. It'd be like a small mini truck with like some nice suspension on it and my little 4A. Because a truck has enough engine bay to fit a 4A GE in it. But then you have problems with transmissions, because, you know, if you're going to want to run a motor like that, you're going to want something that's got like at least 5 forward gears, if not 6. And the problem with that is those little trucks, not the Isuzu so much, but the other ones had 4 speeds and stuff at the time, really, really small transmissions, so not a lot of trans tunnel room. So yeah, my dreams of that are probably dashed in reality. I'll probably never do it, but it's something I've always wanted to do. I saw a guy that put a black top. It was on an episode of that Matt Ferris, what's it called? It's where he just drives the car one time, like one takes, I think he calls them. He had a black top 20 valve swapped AE100, which is like the 93 to 96 Corollas. And that's my favorite one. I love those Corollas. And that car was like everything I could ever want in a car. The black top swapped AE100, which is a chassis I really love. I just love that car. I love the way it looks. It's super basic. I mean, it looks like a family car because it is one. But I just like that car overall. I mean, that was like the perfect build for me. Totally not legal here. Can't build it. Otherwise, I would. I'd already have one. I would have built one like 3 years ago. But yeah, not legal here, so not going to happen. It's the only major downside to living in California, in my opinion. Everything else I can live with. Cost of living, basically since like I was an adult, I've always lived in expensive places, so like it doesn't even bother me anymore. high taxes, again, same thing. And the weather's just beautiful, so like that's a plus. I don't know, people say it's hot, but I like heat, so you know, the gun laws, I don't really care. I just don't. I mean, I have guns and I like them, but I just don't care enough, you know, so, like, that's not a deal breaker for me, so it doesn't bother me. But the car laws bother me a lot. And it's only because they're not well thought out. They're just like warpath for pollution. People who are trying to fight pollution, they're just on a warpath. They're not putting any real thought into these things. For example, here's why I say that. If you took like a 1979 Trans Am, okay? That thing had a horrid, big, huge V8 in it that made no power, polluted really badly, and was just an awful piece of junk. And you could take a junkyard, you know, LS motor and put that in that car and it will run cleaner, okay? Even if you didn't put all the smog emission stuff on it, just like raw to raw. Like, just put a cat on it, you know, and like similar to the cat that was on the original big block, and like that newer motor's gonna run cleaner. It just is. Now you start talking about putting the smog stuff on it, it's gonna run even cleaner than that. But yet, unless you do it like 100% perfect with every little thing, it's not legal to do that. And I was like, why? So I can run around with this big block that doesn't have to, well, I can, like 79 I guess would need to be smogged, but you could run around with that big block in, say, a 1975, you know, whatever, freaking Chevy crap box big car, and with that thing, like, no cats, open header, big old double pumper on it, just dumping fuel. I mean, just a pollutant monster, right? And not even for a good reason. It's like a 75 big Chevy that sucks. It makes like 180 horsepower, maybe. So, like, you could totally do that. But you put like an LS motor in like a 79 Trans Am, but like, oh, you're bad. You're a bad person. Forget you are bad hot rodder person. It's just nonsense to me. But it is what it is, you know. And I think it comes to a point where, like, do you really have to be so harsh on cars? The people that are, like, still own cars from the 70s here? Like, how many cars from the 70s you see on the road? Look at my video. Dude, watch them all. I don't think we've seen one. Most of the time because they're kind of picked on in this state, you know? Pre-75 is worth, like, double here. Like, as opposed to a 76, because 76 has to be smogged. Which means it has to be like relatively original and like have all its stuff and all it has to work and all that other junk. I can scratch my nose. It's too much nonsense. And that's why I think motorcycles are becoming more interesting to me, to kind of avoid all these problems. Yeah. And realistically, the funny thing is the California car thing does bother me, but I don't really modify my cars. So it's not like the world's worst problem. It just keeps me from doing builds that I would like to do. That's the only thing it really keeps me from doing. Everything else is cool though. Like, you know, if I want a car with 500 horsepower, I'll buy a car with 500 horsepower. It's just that simple to me. Like, unless you're just really set on a certain body style, then like that's the car you want. And, like, you want to be more than what it is. Like, I get that, you know. But for me, it's just easier to buy what you're looking for out of the box. I think motorcycles kind of give you a better way to do that than cars do. Nice little line of traffic here. There's that Nissan hardbody up there. That's the second nice one I've seen in 2 days. I mean, that one's not super duper nice, but it's in pretty decent shape. And I saw one yesterday that was too. Something about those little trucks that, like, people really like them. I had one back in the day. Splash graphics and all. And that one, the one that I had was a 4x4, which isn't that common in those. And even stranger than that is when I bought it, it had real forged Nismo wheels on it. It was probably worth like 3 times what the truck was worth. But yeah, it had true real Nismo wheels on it. It's probably the nicest wheels I've ever had on a car. Gotta be. Can't think of a set of wheels I had that was nicer. Most of my cars just have stock wheels on them. This ride to work is, for when I take the bike, is half an hour longer than when I take my car. Yesterday, I don't know if it's just because I've been out of town or whatever, but it didn't really feel that way. It felt just like really fast. Like I got to work really quickly. I really wish I did have the cameras running though yesterday, because there's a lot of short-lived, interesting things going on the roads. Saw some road rage. Saw a guy brake check me. That was fun. Yeah, just a small. It got stung by a bee. Freaking bee got me, man. I knew it was a bee right away too. As soon as it happened, I was like, ah, bee. And I was trying to figure out, like, how did it get me through my jacket? Like, how's that even possible? And so, like, I kind of swiped my jacket. I felt like I pushed a bee away. And then I was looking for a spot to pull over, but it took a little bit. And I finally pulled over. I looked down my jacket. Like, there's no bee there. There's no guts from a bee. I unzipped my jacket, look at my shirt. There's no bee there either. I lift up my shirt, and it's just a bee's butt. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like, how did the bee go down my jacket, down my shirt, past my bra, right to my belly, and just get me, just like that? Crazy bee. And I didn't feel nothing until the sting. I didn't feel like a tickle. It was just like immediately stung by a bee. Crazy old bees. So right here, this getting on the Demagonia, this will be the challenge. This will see if that oil change and that snorkel removal did anything, which I guarantee that it probably didn't. Like, what are the chances? Just oil and barely a filter restriction. We'll see. Maybe we could get this thing up to a screaming 70 miles an hour. Alrighty. Oh, big old wide turn for the well guy there. green. It's never green. I catch this light every day. Like, this will be the time when I want to get by somebody. It'll be freaking green. No. Okay, it did what I wanted. But now this guy's going to take 15 minutes to get to a dead stop, so I don't want to split next to him yet. Alright, buddy, I'm coming between you, and I'm getting around you, and I'm taking your spot. That sounded healthy. That guy's nasty cow. Alrighty. Come on, light. Let's go. Little black Mustang guy. Full beans! Full beans! Yep, gotta beat my rental Challenger. Guys, this bike is so slow. A full exhaust for this thing, but I don't really want to put it on it because I'm really thinking about not keeping it. And if I do that, I kind of want to keep it in stock form. Yep, 60. Still 60. It's just as I suspected. It's the best as it's going to do. Downhill with a tailwind, it's 65. John 316, that's a big John 316, that guy. Praying for forgiveness for his big ultimate energy. I forgot to clean my visor yesterday. I really regret that. There's a lot of buttons on it. Yeah. A lot of fire trucks because we've had so many wildfires. But that ICP, I was making a joke about the insane climate policy. I don't really know what ICP stands for, but I do know that they're staging a lot of the fire crews out there, and I'm assuming it's something to do with that. So yeah, there's a lot of fire engines and stuff going up and down the roads. The last couple of last week and a half, 2 weeks, there's been a lot of fire stuff. Fire trucks and CAL FIRE support vehicles and things just all over, every which way. Which would have come in handy, say I was allergic to bees. If I was, when I got stung by that bee, all you had to do was wait like a minute and a half, and the next fire vehicle comes around the corner. So, you know, I probably wouldn't have that. Not that I expected to have an EpiPen on the truck, because they're like wildfire fighters, but they could have gotten somebody quicker than I could have, I suppose. Over there. Oh, I think that guy's on the couch. Oh, sure. Could have been amateur. This weekend I really should be starting to work on my Jeep on my other channel, getting it ready for the wedding. So I gotta start doing that. But I really want to go and check out some ninjas at the motorcycle store. I just want to go see one up close. And that process so much faster. 4K takes a lot of time to do the videos, so it should make it much quicker. And also I can use my my older video editing if I want. I haven't made up my mind on that yet. I should really be practicing with DaVinci, that's the best idea, but it just be what it just be. I'm not going to split lanes because both those cars are moving faster than me. Ventura Toyota. That surfboard? Surfboard with lions on it? Okay. That's marketing. Purple Prius over there. Because, you know, if you're gonna have a Prius, gotta have a snazzy one, I guess. When I was in New York, the person the bride that we were going to visit, she had a Prius, and I rode in that thing for the majority of the trip. And it, you know, I've driven Priuses before. I thought they were awful. Still think they're awful. It's the only car I hate. The only car I legitimately have nothing nice to say about. I also rode in a Kia EV6. They're one of their newer EVs. It made me car sick. And I don't get car sick very easily. So that's saying something. And I owned an EV for 2 years, so it's not like I wasn't used to the EV thing. You know? So, I don't know. I don't know what's up with it, but it made me car sick twice. Didn't like it. Off we go. Neighborhoods. Oh, I really should have checked if the camera was on. I'm just like trusting that it is. I'm trusting that the battery's still good, and that it's just not that hot out today. Usually when I trust this camera, it's what lets me down. It's always when I'm like babysitting it that it's always working. Typically. Another motorcycle lane. Car lane. I watched this thing on YouTube. This guy was talking about Harleys versus Japanese bikes. Interesting fellow. I think his name was Shade Tree Surgeon. Yeah, that sounds right. Interesting cat. You know, I only watched one of his videos, but I'm just not into Harleys. I don't think I ever will be. They're not my style. Just not for me. I mean, would I take a Sportster over this XR? Probably. But that doesn't mean I'm a Harley person. It just means that I don't like this XR that much. I kind of bought this thing on a whim. I kind of regret it. I could easily ride my Trail 125 just as easily as this thing to work. I've done it. The only reason why I continue to ride this one is to try to get my money's worth out of it, and also it's slightly bigger, so it's a little easier for traffic to see me. It seems to be, well, I guess I left a little bit earlier today than I did yesterday, but it seems to be more traffic out today. And my commute home is certainly more traffic than my commute home when I stay all the way till 11, as you would imagine. But it's really heavy, and it seems people are, at least yesterday, quite antsy to be going home or wherever they're going, because they was in a hurry. Still building more neighborhoods out here. I have a feeling it's a bad choice. It's like, I don't think the housing market's going to be doing too hot in a couple of years. But I could be wrong. I'm just making spitball predictions on something I know nothing about. They're going for it. They're putting their money where their mouth is, so good for them. Which ones are these going to be? KB homes? Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, you know, we grew up in one of these places like this. There's just new neighborhoods popping up. And we separated the neighborhoods by the house builders in our heads, you know, like when we were visiting a friend, like, oh, they live in the KB homes, or they live in the Pulte's, or whatever. I remember thinking to myself the KBs were like a little bit nicer than the others. We lived in a DR Horton, and it was alright. That's what I kind of remember thinking. Who knows if that's true? You know, what did I know? I was just a little kid. I just thought it looked nice. They had a lot of fire engines, all going to the insane clown posse over there. Firefighters are secretly juggalos. When you're not looking, they take the ash out of the fire and put it on their faces. Make juggalo sounds. Juggalos. Such a funny thing. I think, you know, I think... Listen, I'm not trying to defend a juggalo here, but at the same time, like, if you don't have, like, a thing, aren't you, like, kind of boring? Like, you gotta have a thing, right? Like, I don't know if juggalo... This person sketched me out. I'm trying to get around him. I'm so slow! Okay. Yeah, if you don't have, like, a thing, then you're just, like, a bland person. You gotta have something. Like, you know, if you chose juggalo as your thing... wasn't the best choice, but like it's something. You're better than being bland. You're a juggalo. Like you're associated with something. You're associated with being a juggalo. I don't like that Honda behind me. It's the same one. His license plate's crooked, hanging off, which means they don't care about anything. At least that's a sign to me that you don't care about anything. If like you either don't know that it's hanging off crooked and or you do and you don't care. I want to get over there. Don't mind me, I'm just going. Oh, look at that guy's teal wheels. Those are sick. Oh, that's so cool. Teal wheels, man. That's neat. Wish I had teal wheels. For me to speed through this neighborhood. I think it's just because I'm so used to being where the speed limit is an unachievable speed for this bike, and so I just yeet this thing as fast as it'll go. But here it's 45, which this bike actually can do. So I find myself speeding through here constantly. I also noticed like there's a lot of patterns that I do. There's just certain things, like certain obstacles and stuff I find myself near or hitting every day. And I don't mean like big obstacles, like scary ones. It's like there's certain like this one right here, this little freaking thing, that I hit that every day. So like I'm always in the same riding line no matter what. I hit that thing every single day. Never miss an opportunity to hit it. Oh shit. I don't think it stalled. It just kind of like, I mean it stalled, but I don't think I stalled it. It just kind of died. Like I didn't even really let the clutch out or anything. It just kind of fucking fell on its face. Also, yesterday it did have like 2 hiccups. And I thought it was just like, man, I haven't ridden in a week. It makes sense. But it wasn't until like way late in the ride. Like I'd already been on the ride for a while. They were really fast. They didn't really like last very long. They just like boop, like a misfire. And I was like, oh, that was weird. I just kept riding, and then like boop, happened again, and then it hasn't done it since. Huh. Weird. Really weird. I kind of chalk it up as like it's a carburetor thing. I don't know. Yep. Dane screwed myself on that. Stalled it out, missed a light. But at least those people that, you know, I don't gotta be embarrassed by that because see the camera's still on. Right, we're still running. Sweet. was sitting at this light yesterday, and I was sitting at that light and I was looking around, and I realized that's an RC airplane track up there, like for RC planes. I didn't see any of them flying yesterday. I don't see any of them flying now, but they were up there just like they are right now, just like all up there. No airplanes, so who knows? RC airplanes. Talk about a hobby that is expensive, and I don't know if I would. I guarantee I would find it enjoying it, but you know, I did RC cars when I was young. I thought they were cool. I've tried to get back to the hobby several times as an adult, and it just never sticks. It's one of those things I think it's cool and I can appreciate it, but it's cool from afar. I don't need to participate. I can just appreciate it for what it is. It's like miniatures and models and stuff. Like, I really like models and miniatures and things like that, but it's not anything I know how to do, and I don't want to learn how to do it. I just can appreciate that it's cool, and I can appreciate the art form from where I am in life. I don't need to learn how to do it. I'd have to be pretty darn bored to take up that hobby. It's funny, it's like I'm next to that cop and I'm taking off for the light at full throttle. And I'm not speeding. I mean, just WOT right out of the light. It's like drag racing really slow cars, like under 100 horsepower cars. Like, you drag race them at every light and you're never speeding. I don't want to be in front of him, not because I think I'll get a ticket, because I clearly won't, but because if I can have no cars behind me, that's the way to be. Police officers will write you tickets for being distracted, but they're pretty darn distracted in those cars with their computers, and they text each other and stuff like that. Like, they're super distracted. Like, they're just trying to do their job, you know. Like, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it is a bad thing, but it's not, like, I'm not making a dig on them. They're just trying to do their job, but that doesn't mean I want to be in front of them when they're busy looking at their computer, running a plate, or taking in a call, or whatever, and I'm just like, pow. Darn, the lights are against me today. I'm not getting good lights. Some of those Ford Lightnings, the new ones. Which, like, just, I just gotta say, marketing genius right there. Taking like a well-loved performance pickup truck name, Lightning, and then using it on your electric truck and bringing the name back. Oh, that was brilliant marketing. Oh, so good. Such a good choice, Ford. I'm not saying I really like the Lightning electric truck. I mean, I don't hate it either. It's just, it is what it is. But it's just, oh, that's such good marketing. That's so brilliant. I like stuff like that. I'm a sucker for marketing, and not like a sucker for marketing where I buy products, because that is like the opposite of what I am. I'm like very aware that I'm being marketed to. I just appreciate good marketing, and I'm like always analyzing marketing that I see. It's such an interesting concept to me. And now that I have my master's degree, I'm really thinking about teaching at the college for a little bit. This is a secondary job, and I think if I could pull it off, I would love to teach marketing, because I'm fascinated by it. I really love everything there is about it. My degree is in management, so I don't really know how that works as far as teaching goes. Is this a car shop? Is this what this is? Or they just have two random Accords for sale? Two Accords. Pick your color. We have two, well, only two. 2-door, 4-door, black or red. Full throttle. Oh, we're getting it, baby. By getting it, I mean we're going 45 miles an hour. Screaming. I mean, this bike is hilariously fun because it's so slow in a lot of ways. Like, it's a funny thing to, like, hear the engine scream through 5 gears when you're doing 50 miles an hour. But commuting in California, where everybody drives fast and we do have high speed limits, even this little road's 55, it is kind of detrimental. And I really thought to myself, like, I thought that these side roads and stuff, it really wouldn't be that bad, just because... What is that? Oh. It's just because, like, I didn't think that the speed limits would be that high. I thought they'd be like 45. It's like, oh, this bike can do 45. It's very comfortable at 45. This bike is, like, super happy at 45. It's above 45 where it starts to get a little uncomfortable. Above 55, it's like you're just screaming its guts out, so... Yeah, I really thought it'd be a better choice, but you live and you learn. Motorcycles are still very new to me, so I'm still learning as I go. What I've learned is I like a dual sport, you know? They're pretty cool. But the problem with dual sports is that they're just not that comfortable for commuting, really, which is what I need a bike to do right now. So it would be smarter for me to get something else and just keep my trail bike. I don't really want to sell that thing. I went through too much of a hassle to get it, and it is wicked fun. There's levels of fun that this bike could not compare to. And confidence level, like, I'm far more confident on the trail when I'm on the trail, you know what I mean? Like when I'm on the CT-125, when I'm off-roading with it, I'm much more confident on that bike than I am on this. And I couldn't tell you the reason why. I have way more miles on this one, but I just feel more confident with my little one. Yeah, I think I've got double the miles on this white bike than I do on my red one at this point. And what was that, like 8,300, I think? It's over 6 now. Yeah. Just trying to get my money's worth out of it while I think about what I'm going to do next, motorcycle-wise. I really wanted to ride this bike for a year, but a year of doing this side road thing, I don't know, man. It's not like I'm not having fun, because I'm totally having fun, but at the same time, like, there's a level of being inconvenienced for the sake of fun. Because it's not like I wouldn't be having fun if I took the convenient route on a faster bike. So happy that I'm not just baking in the sun. I mean, I can take 106 degree, 110 degree heat and still ride the bike, and I'll be okay, but I mean, come on, 85 is way nicer. Let's be honest here. So yeah, it's beautiful this morning. And it will probably be just as beautiful this evening on my ride home. And I brought an extra battery, so we should be able to get some ride home footage too. Boy, cruising. We're having a great time. This intersection, I could say words. This intersection up here is much easier to negotiate in the morning, I've noticed. In the evening, there's a lot of cars here, and everybody's kind of just, I don't know if they're in a hurry or just being silly pantses or what, but it is what it is. They like to wave me through that intersection, though. I do like that. For the most part. I thought that I would have waved that Tahoe through. I was thinking about it. It just looked like the kind of guy that would want to go fast. Am I in top gear? Let's see. Nope. There we go. No, as it turns out, he's way back here in the mirror, so he's not in the mood to go fast. And I'm in the mood to go the speed this bike goes, which is currently 57. Screaming miles an hour. You know, if I lived here in my high school days, this would probably look like my first drag strip right here. Oh, is that a motorcycle friend? It is a motorcycle friend. Yay, motorcycle friends! That guy's like easy rider, man. He got the what are those things? Ape hangers? Big old sissy bar. Man, just got passed by Peter Fonda, man. It's cool. Fast we're going now. Wow, we've made it to 59. Red light. You guys remember Squid Games? Boy, that came out of nowhere and then just left as fast as it came, didn't it? I watched it and you know, I didn't get the hype. It was kind of dumb. Oh, we got some construction up there. Burrito. Yeah, I didn't get the hype of Squid Games. I didn't see the point of it. But I have noticed, like, kids really like Squid Games. But man, that's kind of dark for a kid, you know? Kidnapping and, like, death, greed, all these things, like, some pretty big concepts for a child. But then again, I noticed that, like, a lot of kids like Pennywise, like It too. Like, oof. That movie would have scared the bejesus out of me when I was a child. And I don't know, I would not have enjoyed that as a kid. The few scary movies I did see, like, had an impact on me for sure. I watched Jeepers Creepers when I was a kid. That movie scared me so much. That was a scary movie, man. Jeepers Creepers. Can't even kill that guy. He's like immortal. You like shoot him and like he just kills people and takes those parts and like rebuilds himself. Creepy monster. Yeah. That's a scary one, for sure. Don't remember what other scary movies I watched, but that was the one that was kind of scary to me. Hills Have Eyes, yeah, that one was pretty scary. Mutated monster people. Radiation people. Stop talking about scary movies. I gotta pay attention to traffic. We're getting into, well, city would be a nice word for it, but we're getting into where traffic is. Let's just put it that way. I want to round this cement mixer guy. Make a break for it around the bolt? No, says I. Oh, but shit, I should have done it. Come on, bike. This thing doesn't like to downshift sometimes. It's just like, you're just hitting it. You're like trying to rock it, like letting the clutch out. Like, come on, dude. It's just not doing it. Every once in a while. Not all the time. Just every so often. Gotta get in there, Toyota. See, those are like that with time. It was very crisp, very good. I do think I need to commit more. Every once in a while, like right here. In the traffic. I don't want to get stuck behind that bus. Okay. Pop, 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 pop. That girl's got a really interesting hat going on. What is that? Is it like a Rasta hat? Is that what that thing is called? I don't know. It's kind of a like maybe early 70s vibe going on with the jeans and shoes, or button down, whatever kind of hat that thing is called. Rasta hat or not? I don't know. I don't know hats. It's one of the things I do not know. I know what a top hat is. I know a 10-gallon. I know a baseball cap. Cowboy hat. That's about it. Those are hats. There's a little 3rd-gen Camaro over there. Looks like it might be in okay shape. It's a car I think looks really cool, but would never buy one because they're trash. No, it's not that nice. It's kind of ratty. Just looks nice from far away. It's a 10-footer. Good from afar, but far from good.